Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. Damian Lillard is a threat to score from anywhere. You can score from anywhere with your significant other thanks to our friends at Manscaped. Use the code and the link at the bottom of your screen, manscaped.com/chat. You get 20% off and free shipping on the best men's grooming products. Let's hop into the latest NBA news and rumors, and we start with this. Are the Sacramento Kings going to make a blockbuster trade in NBA free agency or during this crazy and hectic NBA offseason? Let's explore it. According to the Sacramento Bee, the Kings have shown interest in either Ben Simmons or Pascal Siakam, two of the most noteworthy names on the NBA trade block, and both stars have been heavily linked to a trade with the Kings as well as other teams across the NBA. And these talks could pick up this week during NBA Summer League because members of every organization are in Las Vegas together. That's where they can get some deals done. Here's what the Sacramento Bee had to say in this most recent report by Jason Anderson. Multiple sources tell the Sacramento Bee the Kings have shown interest in both Ben Simmons and Pascal Siakam, the two most prominent names linked to Sacramento since the trade and free agency frenzy began. Some remain skeptical the Kings can pull off that kind of deal, but GM Monte McNair wants to make a major move as pressure to win begins to build within the organization 11 months after he was hired, sources said. Going into this season, given what the Kings did in free agency as well as the NBA draft, I kind of like this lineup, especially the starting five. I think they're going to be able to play very impressive and exciting offensive basketball. Can they defend anybody, though? That's the big question. But I kind of like the starting five of De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield after he wasn't traded to the Lakers, Harrison Barnes, Richaun Holmes. You bring him back in NBA free agency. Marvin Bagley is a guy who I think the Kings should try to trade this offseason and basically own up to the fact that you blew that draft pick, taking him ahead of Luka Doncic as well as Trae Young. Try to get any asset back and kind of get that bad negativity out of there. You replace him with another player, and I still think that starting five in Sacramento is solid. As for Ben Simmons and Pascal Siakam, two different players who both have their respective strengths. For Ben Simmons, it's defense and it's passing. First team all defensive guy this past year. He can lock you down positions 1 through 5. His passing in the open court has been phenomenal. But his development over time is kind of flatlined offensively, whereas Pascal Siakam, who was identified out of Cameroon by Masai Ujiri, has turned into a much better and well-rounded offensive player. So who do you think is the better one of the two, according to these reports? Type BS for Ben Simmons, type PS for Pascal Siakam. Be sure to get your votes in the comment section down below. Ben Simmons is a guy who I think you can still build with. Both of these guys have price tags that are very, very high, considering that they're somewhat limited in their respective ways. I'd rather side with Ben Simmons, though. Very good defender. His passing in the open floor is absolutely beautiful. I think he's a jump shot away from really becoming a superstar. Pascal Siakam might be underrated, but I think he is somewhat overpaid. I also want to shift to Siakam because Masai Ujiri, listening to trade offers, just like a good negotiator would, according to reports, and Siakam has been in the mix of these trade discussions for quite some time now. Doesn't want to be traded, though, despite having that rocky season with Toronto when they were playing all of their home games out of Florida. It's a big reason why I don't think people should be making too much out of Siakam having a down year, because it was a very weird and odd year for the Raptors. And there are 3 teams that are reportedly enamored by Siakam. Before we get to that, let's give a shout out to our sponsor. We're talking a lot about Ben Simmons. He might be afraid to shoot the basketball. Don't be afraid to shave your balls, because if you're hairy for your lady, that's just not good news. And Ben Simmons, he refuses to shoot. You don't want to refuse to trim your ball hairs, and you can do so with the brand new Lawnmower 4.0. You go to manscaped.com/chat. You get 20% off and free shipping on the best men's grooming products. You simply use that link, use the promo code chat. You're able to get 20% off. 4 interchangeable blades, a battery life that lasts an eternity. It has long-term value, unlike Ben Simmons' shot. There's a light where you can see what you're doing in the nether region, on your chest, your back, your beard, your hair. So once again, manscaped.com/chat. You enter the promo code chat. Ben Simmons might be afraid to shoot the rock. Don't be afraid to shave your rocks using our deal, thanks to our friends at Manscaped. As for those teams enamored by Pascal Siakam, Golden State Warriors, Some positional versatility that I really like with Siakam potentially going to Golden State. He can play the 3, the 4, the 5. The Los Angeles Clippers, you put Siakam, a winning player, back alongside Kawhi Leonard. That's a tandem we already know has had success winning the NBA championship back in 2019. And you factor Paul George into the equation as well. That's a pretty good Clippers team that I think could contend in the Western Conference. And lastly, it's the Sacramento Kings. Going into the offseason, I thought the Kings had a couple of needs. Front court, they addressed it by bringing back Richaun Holmes coming off that career year, but also a guy who could shoot threes from the wing. You kind of have that in Harrison Barnes, but also defend you from the wing, which Barnes brings you. But Siakam brings you that as well, and more depth in terms of shooting threes, spacing the floor, and defense. That's what you need in the modern day of the NBA. Take last year with a grain of salt. Siakam got paid 2 off seasons ago, goes into last year. People are expecting big things from him, and he went downhill. But as I mentioned early on, Toronto not able to play or even live in Toronto. They spent the entire season in Florida. And let's think about human nature here. I think that can affect your performance. I think that affected Pascal Siakam's performance. The numbers went down from a points per game standpoint. Rebounds, the assists went up, but the field goal percentage from deep went down significantly from almost 36% to a little less than 30%. I think Siakam is somewhere in the middle range there. I'd call him a very good player, a player who you want to be on your championship level roster, not a guy who's going to get you over the top. If you're expecting him to be your number one option, you're fooling yourself. Siakam, very good player, not a great player. The problem here, he's being paid like a great one. So will the Raptors trade Siakam? Let me know in the comment section down below. Predict it for me. Type T for trade, type K for keep. Be sure to get those votes in the comment section. Chat Sports was live for 5 straight days of NBA free agency, and here we are again, live for you again on our live show. That's why you should subscribe, because we're bringing you the best NBA news and rumors here on YouTube, and we're trying to get to 270,000 subscribers as we continue to grow like crazy. If you like the NFL, you like the NBA, smash that subscribe button or go to that link, youtube.com/chatsportstv. How about the latest on Damian Lillard? Lillard has voiced his frustrations about what the Blazers have done in NBA free agency because they didn't really make a big splash when I thought they needed to make a splash to make Damian Lillard happy. And Dame went on to say over the weekend, we didn't do any moves of significance. Norm Powell was okay. Cody Zeller was solid. Tony Snell and Ben McLemore are what they are. I kind of wanted a player that was going to move the needle like Kelly Oubre, who can be a 3-and-D guy, play some good defense, give us a nice offensive game as well. We thought, okay, maybe he'd take the mid-level exception. He did not, and according to The Athletic, maybe Portland is going to try to run it back with the same starting 5 that they had last year. Here's what The Athletic had to say about the Blazers' plans this offseason. The obvious and easiest path to acquire talent is trading shooting guard CJ McCollum. Not only can his $30.8 million salary bring back a player or players of value, but also Portland already has his replacement in Norman Powell, who is a natural shooting guard. It sounds like Portland isn't actively shopping McCollum. I don't know whether that's because Portland doesn't agree with how teams value McCollum or whether Neil Olshey is overly infatuated with him, but the general tone I've heard is the Blazers won't move him just to have a different look next season. The trade has to make the Blazers better, and so far other teams haven't met that bar. I alluded to the Blazers starting 5 from last year. This is what it would look like going into this year. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Norman Powell. So at the 1, 2, 3 spots, you're a little bit undersized, and the problem with Portland, they can't defend worth a lick. Jusuf Nurkic, I'm expecting him to get back to his old self. He's a good defensive player. So too is Robert Covington, but you have 2 really good defensive players in Nurkic as well as Covington, and then Dame, McCollum, and Powell aren't the greatest defensive players. So that's why the Blazers have come up short in the playoffs in previous seasons, because they can't defend anybody once the postseason comes. And when I look at that starting lineup, I can't help but think this and ask myself this question. Are the Blazers right now any better than they were last year in the first round with that same starting 5 that went out in the first round? I don't think they're much better, nor do I think that makes Damian Lillard all that happy. The proof is kind of out that the backcourt of McCollum as well as Dame just doesn't work. Hasn't translated to a lot of playoff success. And if I'm the Blazers and Olshey, I'm trying to do everything in my power to retain Dame, build around him, try to make him happy, because when you have a generational player, one of the best at his craft over the course of NBA history, you want him to be on your organization, in your business, on your team forever. But they refuse to do the necessary things to make Damian Lillard happy. And here he is, even after winning a gold medal, still not happy. That's why the Damian Lillard trade rumors are continuing to circulate. So will Portland trade either Dame or CJ McCollum? Let me know down below. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get those votes in the comment section. Lastly, Goran Dragic, sent from the Heat to the Raptors in that sign and trade deal with Kyle Lowry, and Dragic isn't all too happy with the situation above the border. According to Dragic, Toronto, not his preferred destination. He was dealt to the Raptors as part of that Kyle Lowry sign and trade, as I mentioned, and I still think Dragic is a starting caliber point guard in the NBA that teams who are either playoff squads or championship contenders should have a lot of interest in. Here's what that deal looked like when Lowry got sent from Toronto, where he's going to go down as probably the best player in the history of the Raptors because he won that title over Vince Carter. He goes to the Heat, and then the Raptors get back Precious Achiuwa. I really like him as a building block, and if they want a stopgap at point guard, yeah, they can play Dragic, but if he's not happy to be there, and if he thinks that he doesn't fit their rebuilding process, he does have a little bit of power, in my opinion, given his longstanding tenure in the NBA, to try to get out of there. Here's what Dragic had to say about his future. Short and sweet. Toronto is not my preferred destination. I have higher ambitions. We'll see. And I think when he says higher ambitions, he's talking about going to a team that's ready to win right now. And the Toronto Raptors, not ready to win right now. Goran, do everything you can to get to the Dallas Mavericks. He's good buddies with Luka Doncic. Both of these guys hail from Slovenia. What an Olympic run it was for Slovenia, even though Dragic wasn't playing. But because of that, I want to see Dragic as well as Doncic team up. And I think when you look at the Mavericks' needs right now, they need a point guard who can handle the basketball, take some usage rate off the shoulders of Luka Doncic, create a little bit, and give you a consistent shooting presence from outside. A guy who can play on ball mostly, a little bit off the ball. And I think he'd be a very good tutor, a very good teacher for still a young player that is Jalen Brunson. In fact, if I have a pro comp right now for Jalen Brunson, I might throw out Dragic. Both lefties, both creative, both not the most explosive offensive players, but Dragic, if you have any power and you can get yourself out of Toronto, come to Dallas. Luka's here, Chat Sports is here, I'm here, producer Sam Brown, diehard Mavericks fan, he's here too. So where will Dragic play next year? Hey, list a team in the comment section right now and predict it for us right down below. I'm going to go ahead and say Dallas Mavericks because if I'm right, I look like a genius, and if I'm wrong, nobody will remember.